Hello, folks. My name is Ralph Viggiano. I'm the owner and operator of the Long Island Shucking Truck. And I decided to go outside the normal experiences of Ralph Viggiano. And I figured we'd do a podcast. And one of the things that I thought about podcasts, that I thought about a long time, and that people always ask me, like, how? Like, what do you do? How did you get into this? Well, tell us your history. And my story's I think it's very common, but it's being lost due to time. So what do I mean by this? As a Long Island Shucking Truck, what I do is I provide clam bakes, raw bars. I do private chefs. I make mozzarella. We do all sorts of different events, full-blown weddings. You name it, we can do it. And if I can't do it, I'm going to tell you. I have almost an unlimited amount of people, resources that can help you at any given time. So I guess the biggest question is how? How do we get started in this? And really, the best way to say this is because I fell in love with food and family, or family and food, whichever you want to pick first. So what does that mean? I remember as being a small child, like, holidays, parties, and everybody was in the kitchen, like the hub. The kitchen was the hub of the family. Like, everything revolved around that. Mom would be yelling at you, get out of the kitchen. Don't do this. Don't do that. And part of me doing this business has realized, especially after COVID, that we've lost that. We've lost something special. So let's talk about how I got into shellfish and seafood. My first experiences of that is fishing with my dad right here in Carmen's River, which is located on the south shore of Long Island, out by Brookhaven. And then clamming in the Great South Bay. My grandfather taught me how to do the dance, jump in the sand and do the little wiggle with your toes. And when you feel a lump, you go down, you pick it up, and that's how you clammed. And these two things became, a ritual in the summer. There was one time my mom got... My mom, I don't know why. My mom should be a saint. We'll go into mom stories all day long. But my mom was a saint. My brother and I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We'd ride our bikes we lived in Brookhaven, down to Squassix. We would catch snappers. We would take the snappers, we'd bait them, we'd catch crabs, and then we'd ride down my grandmother's house down on Bay Road, and we'd bring them her so she'd make crabs and red sauce, and that's just what we did. That's what we did in our summers. We didn't get on the computer. We did dumb things. And then my mom couldn't find us. She's missing children. She's freaking out. She's riding around the neighborhood, and we don't think anything. We're just idiots. Mom's like, where the hell have you been? And, Mom, we went clamming and crabbing, and then we did this, and we brought down to grandma, and we did this all on bikes. And we would have done this all by 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. So that's my real introduction. I think everybody nowadays, if they still cook, the young kids always get the opportunity to make the crescent rolls. As soon as you turn 5, it's a rite of passage in the kitchen, like to pop that Pillsbury and roll up those crescent rolls that you contributed to the cooking at family cookouts. It's important. It's important to teach our children the meaning of two things: families and cooking. DoorDash is not cooking. This is one of the reasons why I'm doing this, because I think the family element is losing something by not being in the kitchen. So this kind of leads me into a story, because as I got older, I did a little bit of cooking here, making popcorn on the stove, not with the microwave, a little bit of oil, shaking the pot. But the first real experience that I had was I had to make a meatloaf for my mom. Now, please, this is going to be a little PG-13, but let me explain it to you. I was a 14-year-old kid. I was at Bellport High School. And Mom says, Ralph, my mom worked, my dad worked. They all came home at 4 or 5 o'clock. I was the babysitter. I had to cook dinner. And one night, my mom goes, Ralph, can you make a meatloaf? And I looked at my mom. I go, Ma, I don't know how to make a meatloaf. I go, what are you kidding? She goes, you're 14. You can read. There's a cookbook. Figure it out. All the ingredients are in the fridge and in the cupboards. Hence, what did I do? I decided to open up a Betty Crocker, figured out how to make a meatloaf, made the meatloaf, so be it. This is where the story goes bad. So I'm 14 years old. I decide to shape the meatloaf, I swear my mother's grave, in the shape of a penis, right? Testicles, the whole 9 yards. Next thing I know, my mom comes home from work. She's sitting there and she's like, did you make the meatloaf? And I go, yes. She goes in. I said, it's in the oven. You can go check on it. She opens up the oven. The screech I hear is second to none. This woman comes out of the kitchen holding two, not one, but 2 wooden spoons. And she comes after me like Kung Fu Panda, right? She is beating the crap out of me. She breaks one of the wooden spoons on my body. She's mad at me because she just broke one of the wooden spoons. My father comes out. He goes, what's wrong? My mother goes, go look at what he did in the kitchen. It's in the oven. My father starts laughing. She's pissed off. She goes, Mom, my mom goes, I'm not eating this. I will not eat this. I go, Mom, come on. All you got to do is cut the balls off. It's not that bad. It's meatloaf. And hence my cooking career had started. Okay. So my mom eventually did eat the meatloaf, but that's not part of the story. The story is that I was able to preserve that story, and I'm sharing that story with you because, clamming with your grandfather or open up clams on the half shell and sucking them down out of the water with a little bit of lemon or, making a meatloaf. That's all a part of the family. So I brought something today, which is really kind of ironic. I thought being my first podcast, I want you to understand why I'm in this business. Like, I think a lot of people do this business for profitability and things like this. I'm a retired school teacher for 30 years. And I do it because I enjoy it, because I bring almost 45 years of passion in cooking in the kitchen to you. And that's what we're supposed to do. At the end of the day, you want to feel that you got value for your money. At the end of the day, you want to sit back and say, I did the right thing. Like, this person made my event, my party, my holiday, whatever, special. And what I'm bringing to you is seriously almost 100 years of cooking. And I know that sounds nuts, but I want to show you something. Okay, I got to put on my glasses. Hold on. This is my cookbook. I want you to notice the complexity of the cookbook. I know exactly what most people are going to think. Oh my God, this guy's nuts. Look at this cookbook. But you have one. You have one of these home, I promise you. This is my cookbook. This was manufactured in 1995, before my mom passed. And I'm highlighted in a magazine. It's called Stroll, believe it or not. It's a magazine that does a lot of different things. It's more regional. It's like a local newspaper. And with that, I just want you to see, I'm just trying to get to this. And I know you can't see it, but I want to read it to you. It says, Ralph, each one of my brothers got one of these on December 25th, 1998. This was our family cookbook. And she says, here as promised is a collection of family and friends' favorite recipes. I hope you enjoy them and put them to good use. Merry Christmas. Love, Mom. So with this, as you go through this, like, I have steamed pudding from Ganny, and Ganny was and she writes, Ganny was my paternal grandmother. Her name was Florence Emery Dahl Fraser. Ganny was of German descent. This recipe always served for Christmas dinner with a hard sauce. And it was a steamed chocolate pudding. And the whole book is dedicated to family members and preserving the family legacy. Now, this gets even funnier. That's my cookbook, okay? This, obviously, is my mother's cookbook. And you can see the condition. When I pulled them out and compared them, I'm like, holy smokes, what am I, a schmuck here? Look at this. But you can see that my mom has stuffed recipes, and you can see the writing on the wall. It's stained, it's used. She took this and she translated to this. But yet, the family recipes don't start there. This, boys and girls, is my grandmother's cookbook. I really shouldn't be having it out. It was from my grandfather when he was in the Navy. So, and if you look at some of this, and I don't really want to open it, these recipes have been passed down for almost 100 years now. Since at least World War II. My grandfather was in World War II. So this will put this cookbook probably being originated with some of these recipes through the Depression and everything else from the 1930s. So going back when you hire the Long Island shucking truck, you're not hiring a company that has to pay the lights. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's a lot of great companies out there that do catering, that do raw bar, that just do private chef. All these people are talented, gifted people. Appreciate them, hire them, try them. I just think that we got to start recognizing more about what our family contributes to our everyday life. And in this world that, I don't know, maybe I'm confused, maybe I'm out of my mind, maybe I'm old. That's it. I'm about to turn 60. Maybe I'm just nuttier than squirrel poop. You know what I'm saying? That this is something that is just me taking witness, you know? But the world is getting chaotic. But do you know what's the same? Sunday dinner, turkey at Thanksgiving, getting around, cooking, the hot kitchen, the kids running around. At least there's one or two kids that will have a meltdown just because they're exhausted or they were too jacked up too much on, like, you know, I love to say Mountain Dew, jacked up on Mountain Dew, but, you know, soft drinks or chips or God knows what. But that's what we're supposed to be doing. So that's how I got started. It just became cooking, you know. Once after my years of high school, and I did take cooking classes with Mrs. Ehrlich at Bellport High School. That was an experience, which I do treasure and I appreciate. I worked at an array of delis. I worked, you know, if you're local, you know these names, but I worked for Jim Verney at Jim's Deli. And, you know, Mr. Verney, God rest his soul, was magnificent. I mean, you know, he had such a way of teaching and smacking me at the same time. It was awesome. I would never give it up. I learned so much from that man. My brother actually worked for his son. You know, my brothers did. You know, I had all my brothers are in the food industry because of this. You know, worked at Ragtime. I worked with John at Jim's Deli. You know, I worked at the high-end cheese shops out in Southampton. And then what really solidified my love for cooking was I ran a private beach club in Quogue. I'll tell you the name. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but it was the Surf Club of Quogue. I spent 20 years there. It was magnificent years with a family known as the Youngs, and I met amazing people there. Some people that really had a huge impact on my life, and they don't even know it. But the bottom line is, I really fine-tuned a lot of my cooking. And when I left there, just before I left there, I was doing a lot of parties. And, you know, I was doing marinated sliced steaks and clam bakes, and I was doing, you know, boils on the beach and cocktail parties. And we had a clam bar. And one day my brother, Mike, who is immediately, I have 4 brothers. Michael is the second. One right beneath me. He's like, you know, him and I were in trouble on a regular basis, duck hunting at Mont Lane. And, you know, I don't know, we did some stupid stuff together. I don't even know how we made it, but we did. And he came and looked at the bar and he goes, you know what, Ralph? He goes, you do too good of a job. And this surf club is too beautiful to have a raw bar of this standard. He goes, I got an idea. So, I don't know. It was the end of the year. I wasn't thinking anything. Probably just before the end of the summer, my brother calls me up and he goes, come out to my house. I got to show you something. And he created a masterpiece. My brother built me a raw bar. It's on my website. I'm going to give you the information at the end. But he built a raw bar that was second to none. The raw bar is copyrighted. I just paid a small fortune to have it copyrighted and protected because I have been offered up to $15,000 for this raw bar. The raw bar is spectacular. And I love people, you know, it's so funny. I talk to people when I hire customers and they go, hey, Ralph, how you doing? Listen, and I really would love them to say, I love your personality. Your shellfish is off the concept. It's unbelievable. I love everything you do. But no, that's not what they say. They go, you're going to bring the boat, right? That's it. You're going to bring the boat. My brother built this boat, and you'll see some pictures of the boat. And the boat is magnificent. It's about 8 foot long. It's about 3.5 foot wide. It's on wheels. It's on a portable deck. There's only, the Long Island Shucking Truck is the only company that runs with this raw bar. And we fill it with ice. I brought it out. It's done in mahogany. It's his design. He created the ribs of it. He did everything. He how do I say this? I'm not a woodworker, but he said he soaked the rails, the sides of it, and bent the wood properly. I mean, he actually, the bow of the boat, the wooden red oak piece, was a branch that fell down at his house at Mattatuck, and he cut it and he milled it and he made it. So again, the boat is made with love. It's made from family. And that's my message. That's my message, guys, right? Like, he built this boat. What did he want for it? Nothing. My brother said, I spent almost 100 hours building that boat for you, Ralph. And you know why I built it? Because you're my brother. So, and he does. He comes with me and he opens up clams and oysters. And now I have my nephew, little Mikey, who's opened up in clams and oysters, and he's 15 and he's got clams. He's pretty good at clams. He's not ready for oysters yet, but this summer I expect him to fully be opening up oysters, or at least trying and learning the trick, the ability to open them. And we'll see how to open up oysters in the near future. But he built that boat for me. And when I unveiled it, it was incredible. Like the how do I say this? The members of the club just fell in love with the boat. And after 20 years of working at the surf club, it was time for me to move on. And I went to other ventures and I didn't know what to do. I had this raw bar. This raw bar was beautiful. And I said, you know what? I'm going to build a web page. Everybody does it. I want 8 jobs a summer. That's all I want. 8 jobs and I would be thrilled. Well, I posted the web page and I don't know what happened. I had 8 jobs before the end of the summer and I've never looked back. I've been very blessed that no matter what happens, I constantly have people wanting the boat. You're going to bring the boat. And I have people say, oh, I have a boat. This is a little bit different. And when you look at the pictures, you can sit back and say, I understand why Ralph feels this way. And then we expanded into clam bakes. I do boils. We do a frog stew or a South Carolina boil where we do, it's really kind of a spin on a New England clam bake. Really, it's what it is. We do a boil. The history of it is really kind of interesting because after market, down in South Carolina, they would have a bazaar. Everybody would sell their product. And at the end of the day, when the market ended, people would have scraps left over. They'd have a cucumber, they'd have a carrot, they would have a lobster. And this is where frog stew really originated from. And they take all the spices and they take what they need to do and they throw it in this big pot. They would take out one of the tables. They would cover it in newspaper. Jesus, the Board of Health heard about this. They would be bugging out, right? But they would cover it with newspaper. They'd make this big boil. They would scoop everything out of this big pot. They would dump on it. It became very communal. People would just be grabbing food and I want a shrimp and I want a clam and oh my God, I want a sweet potato. And it just became an opportunity for the community to get together. Like I love doing the boils for rehearsal dinners, for weddings, because it's 2 families coming together, right? Like this is the first time that the families are really like, this is the big weekend. Like, weddings are huge. Like there's no better, if any caterer doesn't recognize, and I know they do because I've talked to tons of caterers. I'm in the business that a wedding is the most important day of people's lives. And when I bring my raw bar, a rehearsal dinner, I'm part of the ingrained family and foundation forever. In 40 years from now, these people are going to be grandchildren, and they're going to look at their wedding photos and they're going to remember the raw bar. Like, that's what I mean by creating memories. And that's what the Long Island Shucking Truck is all about, right? It's at the end of the day, you've created a memory that's second to none. And that's what I want you to see. We did a clip on Channel 12 News just recently with Eric Colton, where we talk about how my brother built this boat and how he gave a lot to me. And I couldn't be here without him. I give him all the credit in the world. My life is easier. My business is better because of my brother. He's built 2. I think he's in the process. He doesn't know it yet, but I think he's in the process of building a 3rd one. And the man who taught me how to really open in clams and oysters, besides my brother, was a childhood friend of mine, Eddie. His dad used to own Mastic Seafood. And Eddie is although we're not blood, he's a brother to me and I owe him everything. I wouldn't be here without him. And, he helps me open. My brother helps me open. It's a family affair. When you get us, you're getting family. And we want your event to be perfect. So that's what we're looking to do. So that's it. We're located centrally on Long Island. So I've done jobs, Montauk Point, Southold. I've done them all over Long Island. I've been onto the rooftops of Manhattan. I have been to Jersey. I did a job in Philadelphia. It's about an experience. It's not about, how do I say this? It is about dollars and cents because everybody has a budget. Let's be serious. The world financially is out of control. I haven't raised my prices in over 3 years. I don't intend to raise my prices. You can call for a quote. The hard part is I usually have minimums, right? You have to have a minimum. I can't be traveling to New Jersey for opening oysters for 10 people. It just doesn't work. If you're doing a clam bake and you got 15, 20, 30 people, okay, I'll come there for the day. If you're doing a bachelorette party and I'm doing most of the food, we can talk, we can make something work like that. So it all depends on what your element is, what you're looking for, right? Like we can do anything. So it's your party. I want you to tell me what you want at your party. If you're lost for words, I'll give you outstanding suggestions, whether it be gluten-free, vegetarian, seafood. Oh my God, knock it out of the park. We can do soups. We can do so many different things. But when we plan a party, I just want you to say, hey, Ralph, we're thinking of doing this. And give me some time to think about a specialized menu for you. Let's curtail it. Let's curb the entire menu to your event. And that's what we did in the home. Mom would do crazy things. Mom would one day turn around and she goes, oh my God, guess what? We're having a German Christmas and everything. We should be cooking German food. And I'm like, Mom, how is this happening? She goes, we're just going to have German. And we would do things like that just for fun. And we'd all participate. Bread and chicken cutlets was a commonplace. Veal cutlet was a commonplace. How do you make we did that. How to make a sauce, meatballs, all of that stuff was commonplace. But we were never short of experimenting. And that's really another life lesson. One of the things that I've learned from teaching is that I've watched my students have it rough. Some kids really have it rough. It's not easy for them. It really isn't. And I watch them persevere. I watch them always adapt and overcome. And sometimes I find a kitchen, the same thing. Like when you're making a recipe, if it's in that cookbook, if it's in my cookbook, it means it's been trialed and errored. It means that we fixed it to our likings. And I hope every family does the same. But you have a whole slew of different kids out there and they all have to be taught in a different manner. And I think a recipe is very similar to that, right? Like you can't build a healthy family without everybody contributing part of the recipe. And I don't want to get, screw it. Like, I don't know if the internet should be a good substitute for anything. Like relationships, like my mom and dad are gone. I would do anything just once to have him back to do one more dinner. Like a crazy thing I was just telling a good friend of mine, the worst thing that ever happened when I was a kid, mud on, I'm telling you, my dad would come home. I don't know. It was like September, August. And my dad would come home from the farm stand and he'd have a bushel of corn, cauliflower, a bushel of tomatoes, a bushel of broccoli, a bushel of green beans, a bushel of beets. He bought every vegetable underneath the sun. And for 3 nights, we would sit around the TV as a family and we would cut green beans and we'd cut broccoli and I'd have to cut corn off the cob because freezing corn on the cob wasn't that good. And my mom would make tomatoes, we'd make sauce and we'd jar pickles and we'd do peaches and we'd make jams. We did all of this. We did all of this night after night after night. And I got to be honest with you, every single day my dad turned around and says, come on, the fruit's here, go get it. I was angry. I hated it. And today I would give up everything just to have one more night. of sheer, getting yelled at, getting stupid, that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things that I think that I try to bring to your family, and I might be going around in circles, and it's the holidays and people get a little weird at the holidays, self included. One of the reasons why I decided to do the podcast is because Thanksgiving came around and you broke out the cookbooks. And as I get older, I just maybe somebody wants to listen to something I have to say or use my services, because again, you're not getting a guy opening clams and oysters. You're getting 100 years of my family supporting your family, being part of your family. And that's the mark. That's the legacy that I'm trying to leave with everybody. And I think it's important that we do so. Again, on my raw bar, we can do clams, oysters. You're going to see me do a lot of different things about oysters. Oysters are a very hot commodity right now. They're awesome. They've been around for centuries. From New York to Long Island. We'll talk about the formation of blue points, and this is what's going to be coming up in the future. So when we sit back and we look at this, we got, how do we cook oysters? Well, we roast them, we eat them raw, we can put them in stews. Ben Franklin would contribute a lot. We're going to talk about the myths and legends of oysters, who ate them. Ben Franklin would eat oysters on a regular basis. Granted, the man couldn't walk because he had such horrible gout, because he had a pint of ale in one hand and an oyster in the other. But there's a lot of things that come along with this, like why do we have some of the things that we have? Like, how do we come up with the mignonette sauce? Most people think mignonette is French, and it was developed in New York City in the 1930s. So we're going to bring a lot of the history. We're going to try to bring how to farm them. Like I have a couple of people that would like to really come in and share their farming experience with how to do this, what to make sure. How do you make sure an oyster's safe? Why am I buying proper oysters? Refrigeration and temperature and all these different things all matter. And I'm not, again, do not misconstrue. All the guys that I know of do the right thing with, maintaining temperatures for oysters and doing the right thing and harvesting and opening. This is not bashing a single oyster person going or clam or anything else. It's a respect for the industry, because young people aren't going into this industry anymore. It's an old timers game, It's hard work. It's ridiculously hard work, and it's rewarding. And I've done it. I've pulled in gill net. I've done eeling. I've done oystering. I've done clamming. I physically did this stuff when I was much younger. And I will admit, the guys that are still doing it, the old timers, I don't know how they're doing it. Like I'm 60 years old, and it's hard for me to get out of bed and hit the toilet in the same, 30 seconds, never mind going out and pulling in a rake or traps or anything like that. So you got to give these people some respect, and it really gives you, how do I say this? A view, an illustration that when you eat that oyster, how many hands and how many people have to make that oyster delectable. And when you enjoy that oyster, and it's the end product, and I'm going to provide the end products, like I said, a raw bar, clam bar, my sauces, other things, I do, all sorts of cooking. We go to parties, we make fresh mozzarella. I have a person, she does an amazing job with charcuteries and grazing tables. I mean, to the point that people stop and they go, this is not real. Like, it's a showstopper. And that's really what you're trying to do. We try, and what she does, I didn't mean to change thoughts, but what she does is she's going to ask you, she'll sit down and she'll say, hey, listen, what are you doing with this? What are you doing with that? And she's going to turn around and say, oh, my grandmother, we lost my grandmother. And she'll design a table around your family. She'll design like that. My aunt passed away, my mom passed away, and she'll make a grazing table, and they're still with us. She's going to ask you, what are their favorite cheeses? And they're going to be there. And that's one of the things that we're after. We're after, again, I know I sound like a broken record, and I apologize, but we're talking about preserving that family and the food. And I think there's a very, very strong connection between that, at least in my house, and I think in a lot of others. And again, 3 generations of cookbooks prove it. The recipes, my passion for food, they all go ahead and prove it. So we can do a lot. We can do private cooking classes. I've done private cooking classes that I've gone in and I've made mozzarella for people. We can, make soups, lasagna soups. I have a good friend that turned me on to lasagna soup, and oh my God, there's so much fun with the lasagna soup. And it's easy. That's the beautiful part. It's like unbelievably, incredibly easy. She's awesome. So a lot of this stuff is trials and tribulations. And then, it is what it is. Some of you might know me from Billie Jean's Grill. My brother and I ran a food truck. My brother was one of the top 5 food trucks on Long Island again and again. And we kind of went another direction. Food trucks are hard. Seasonal business is hard. And that's what this is. I'm a seasonal business also. My brother and I struggled with the food truck. In the summer, it was awesome. We were not short a customer, not short any demand. But when that February comes around, much like a lot of restaurant businesses, it drops off. And I understand we get into the holidays, but one of the things that I'm trying to do is make people's holidays better. I'm trying to bring a different light, something different, something that people can gather around, and we plan the menu. When you call me, we book and we plan a menu. To find me, to look for me, you can check Channel 12 News. I was just there with Erin Colton this summer. We had a lot of fun. I didn't think it would be so fun because she enjoyed it. I was kind of taken back. Thank you, Erin, if you're watching this podcast, or if you watch this podcast. But Erin, you really did. She loved it. She's like, I can't believe you do all this. This is phenomenal. I do a cucumber ginger mignonette, which will knock your socks off, and it really is. And that, I almost gave up on it. I tried that, oh my God, 15, 20 times, and I finally got it. I finally nailed down the sauce to almost perfection. And I've had, 3 people in 10 years of me doing the raw bar business say I didn't like it. And the cutest one was like an 83-year-old lady. And I told her, I'm like, oh my God, she loves oysters. I said, have an oyster. I said, try the green sauce. She goes, I don't want the green. Do me a favor. I said, try the green sauce. She puts the green sauce on there and she turns around and she goes, I'm 83 years old. She goes, I like my oysters raw. I go, ma'am, you're 83 years old. Keep eating oysters raw. Eat them any way you want to. But we can do these things. We can curtail anything that you really want. So I'm at the Long Island Shucking Truck. Like I said, I'm at WWLI Shucking Truck. I'm on Facebook. I'm Instagram. I'm really hoping that this podcast starts to educate people about, if I had a goal, food and your family. Do it. Find a recipe. Cook with them. If I had children, the thing I would do most of all is I would let them pick a recipe and we would go shopping, me and the child. And we'd come home and I'd make all the kids get into the kitchen and we would crush the garlic. We'd cut the onions. We would, I know you shouldn't use a knife. No, they can use a knife. If they're under adult supervision, they can do a lot. Trust me, I was 8 years old and I'm cutting green beans with masking tape on there. My father had no problem giving me a paring knife. And he goes, just don't cut yourself. And when we cut ourselves, you know what he would do? He'd put more Band-Aids on it and he'd say, keep cutting. You won't cut your hand because you got more Band-Aids on it. It's the way it worked. It was just a different time. And it was, I don't know. I think when people grew up in the 60s and 70s and 80s, you're going to relate to this. And old people, the young kids are going to say, oh my God, you kidding me? We can just order it. But we can do a lot now. But what we can't do is turn back time. Guys, and that's what you're talking about. You only get how many Christmases? 75 in your lifetime? 75 Thanksgivings on average? Right? 80? How many do people have left? And if you can't find a way to sit down and cook with your family and be with your family and laugh with your family and drink with your family, do whatever you want with your family, have a good time with your family, but to cook something, to pass down a recipe, to teach your child how to make something that they're going to remember, that when you're gone, they're going to remember this. Like me at a wedding. Do you know how many people I do a wedding for? and then I'm back and I'm doing an anniversary party for somebody, or I'm back for their child's birthday. Like, I have customers that call me up and say, Ralph, I need to have a party in July. Tell me what dates you're available. I'm booking it around you. They'll make the caterer. They'll make sure I'm present first. Why? Because we're family. And that's the way I think we should make customers. I think that we should sit back and treat them like I've cooked my brother's weddings. I've done my cousin's weddings. I'm going to treat you like you're my family. And if there's a problem at the end of the day, you tell me and I'll try to fix it. If there's a problem, you'll never know about it. I'm going to fix the problem in the kitchen. I did one wedding. Ready? I get in there 2 days before. It's an off-site. It's a destination wedding. I have no ovens. The ovens haven't worked in 2 years. So when I dealt with the person that ran the establishment, said I had full use of the kitchen, no problems. You got to fix that. And you can't go to anybody. That was a stressful wedding. But that's stuff that you have to wear and nobody needs to know about it. If you fix it and everybody outside doesn't realize that you did your job properly and they don't realize that there was a problem, you are a great caterer. And like I said, I have dealt with tons of people from the highest ends, the finest restaurants in New York and Long Island. You know, you don't know that. And that's the whole purpose of this. So I really do. I'd like to believe that we have something special to offer. And come check out my website. Come check out, who I am. By all means, give me a call. Talk to me. Come find me. Look at me. Look up the Long Island Shuck and Shuck on Channel 12 News. And I do. And if you enjoy this, I really do. I hope you like to, give me a thumbs up, follow me, love me, show me, share it, do something like that, because I'd like to do some more of these, because I guess this is my testimonial to food and family, and I'm just going to keep it going. So if I got 5 people, I'm going to keep doing it. If I got 5,000, lucky me. If I got 50,000, oh my God, there's a lot of people that have a lot of time on their hands because they want to watch me. Nah, I'm only joking. But for the most part, I'd like to thank, Barone Studios down in Bellport that we put the studio together, and they're out helping me do this. Without their assistance, it could never have been done. So I owe them a deep bit of gratitude of bringing my family to yours. And with that, enjoy your holidays. Have a great day. Thank you very much. Ralph.